Welcome back. You're watching us here on Halftime Report. The market's not doing particularly well, but it's that kind of day. But tell you what, it is a Friday, and let's lift your mood. And what better mood lifter than chocolate itself? Because today is also the World Chocolate Day. Well, chocolates is what we're going to discuss now on the show. We have with us Geetika Mehta, Managing Director at Hershey India, to talk us about the chocolate market itself. I mean, it's a big opportunity. It's no child's play, so to say, right? I mean, almost 24,000 crores by FY27. You have growing population, rising middle class, disposable incomes, premiumization. All this works for the chocolate industry. But, you know, just to look at chocolate as a proxy for the consumption situation at large, what can you say, you know, what proportion of a consumer's wallet share goes into chocolates, and what do chocolate sales tell you about the economy at large?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, and indeed it is World Chocolate Day, so everybody is watching it. I hope you have a chocolate in your hand. I think the reality is that chocolates for the last few years have been growing multifold, yeah? And as we see it in the next few years, it'll continue growing at 8 to 10% CAGR. What it shows is exactly what you said, Mangalam, which is there is premiumization, there is more disposable income. So, you know, consumers do want to kind of do these little splurge things. You know, and it's no longer considered just a treat for a special occasion. Chocolates are now very much part of our, you know, every other day kind of repertoire. It's, you know, celebrate small occasions. Gifting is becoming very big, you know, from a chocolate lens. So indeed, we do see chocolates growing in the new, you know, foreseeable future. And if you look at it compared to any of the Western countries, we are much, much lesser in terms of consumption. So, you know, the consumption of chocolates here is only about 200-300 grams per capita. In the US, it's 10 kgs, just as a reference point.
Wow.
How many chocolates do you eat?
No, I mean, the first thing that came to me is the difference in the obesity levels, maybe. But nonetheless,
I don't think pharmaceuticals space.
But nonetheless, you know, one of the things that I just wanted to touch upon is that you join us on a day where we were just talking about McDonald's, and their North and East operations have actually been impacted in terms of the unavailability of tomatoes or scarcity or price effect. Just wanted to understand, what is the input cost looking like for you all? Has it been challenging, because we've seen milk prices run up quite considerably?
Yes.
And how are you managing to curtail that?
So indeed, inflation has been, in fact, last year was even more so. I can't give you exact percentages, but the entire economy was impacted by inflation across commodities. In our chocolates business, in our other parts of the business, we have big milkshake syrup, Hershey syrups as well. What we do is, the first port of call is really to cut costs in areas which are not consumer facing. You know, our packaging material back end, you know, things that really the consumer's quality mustn't get diluted. And I think that's something we are very conscious of. We keep consumer front and center. So the last port of call would be saying, if we need to increase pricing, we would do that. Our chocolates part of the portfolio, frankly, we have held for the longest. So we haven't increased pricing, but eventually, if this doesn't curtail, that could be, you know, something that we have to look at. But like I said, our back end is the cost cutting that we look at, our cost initiatives, and only when the last recourse would be a pricing for us.
Okay, when you say consumers are at the center point, will the Indian consumer see some of the global flavors being introduced from Hershey's India in India, which is the highest selling SKU for you, and what are the growth plans in India?
Yeah. So we do, of course, get a lot of know-how from, you know, the US. In the US, Hershey is one of the behemoths in chocolates. Yeah, Hershey is almost synonymous with chocolates. So we get a lot of understanding from there. We get a lot of flavors. We tweak them for the Indian palate. So we make in India for Indians, because there is a difference. You know, sometimes Indian consumers prefer a different, maybe a little bit more sweetness or a different flavor profile. With that, therefore, while we get the technology and the know-how, we make our own, and we therefore give what is the best selling here. In India, it is Kisses by far, which outsells. We also have bars, Hershey bars, and exotic darks. And if you haven't had them, you absolutely must, because they are dark chocolate with a, you know, either a fruit center or an almond center. So yeah, that sells very well.
That sounds very tempting right now. But, you know, as far as the Indian market itself is concerned, and those graphic plates come up for you on the screen, Mondelez 57.4% market share as of the last reported numbers. Among the chocolates that do really well, you know, the top 5 companies will have Nestle, Ferrero, Mars, Hershey's. Now, SKUs wise, Kisses sell the most. But in an overall chocolate market, the share is just about 1.2 odd %.
Yeah.
What are the challenges of operating in a market like India, and what are you doing to, say, increase your market share?
Yeah. Two parts to this. The first one is actually, surprisingly, Hershey launched chocolates nationally in India only in 2020.
Okay.
So we're still in an infancy in that sense, right? The other part is really we have been playing in the premium segment. So if I were to look at the overall chocolate market, indeed we are at the share you quoted. But we play only in 1/3 of the market, which is premium chocolates, which is the Silk and the Ferrero, and then us actually in terms of market share. So we would be, in the last 3 years, now be the 3rd largest premium chocolate player in this country. What are we doing really to address the larger market is launching now more accessible price points. So just this year, we have launched Hershey Choco Tubes. So it's a 25 rupee, 4 layers of deliciousness at a very accessible price point of 20. So give the same Hershey aspiration, but at a place that more consumers can really enjoy it. And that's how we plan to address this segment.
Well, all I can say is that I'm really tempted now. But nonetheless, it's great because at one point in time, I remember that Hershey's, the chocolate sauce used to be something so coveted. Someone used to bring it from abroad, and now it's just so accessible. And that talks about the Indian consumption theme as well, which is playing out. We've seen it in terms of the pocket spend. So can you tell us, you've been operating since 2020, but are you looking to probably tap into the rural market more? What can we probably expect in terms of plans in the next 6 months to 8 months? And how would you battle the competitive intensity as well? Because it's not just chocolates in India. It is your local mithai walas. It is, homemade snacks and sweets also, which you are competing with on a daily basis.
Yeah. I think distribution is something in the last couple of years we have significantly expanded. So now we go to almost 250,000 stores directly. What is a challenge for chocolates, especially premium chocolates, is our tropical climate. So our distribution gets limited, if I may say, by the cold chain that we can make accessible. So we have, as Hershey, invested is almost 100,000 Wizzy coolers, which are cold chain solutions at the retail point. Of sale. And that's how we ensure that while the chocolates melt in the mouth, they don't melt before they reach the consumer's hands. And I think that's important. That also, therefore, limits how much we can extend in terms of distribution. So rural is something we don't intend to go with our premium chocolates. But like I said, our Choco Tubes is something which is ambient stable, more accessible, and that's something we could look at to expand.
All right, you told us what the best-selling Hershey's items are, and your favorite chocolates from there as well, the dark ones with fruit in the middle. Before we let you go, we'll just put you in a spot. Your favorite non-Hershey's chocolate would be what?
Ooh, that is a spot. I'm maybe the Lindors.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was smart. That was smart. You didn't speak of any of the ones which are available in India from the Indian basket.
I think also sometimes chocolates have such memory, right? So I remember my brother from the UK sending those big Lindor balls with little Lindors inside it. So yes, that's my favorite.
That's right, actually. Chocolates have a lot of memories as well, especially when we got it from abroad, right? As Ekta was mentioning about that sauce earlier. But Geetika, it was a pleasure to have you with us in the studio to discuss all about the chocolate market, and it was very interesting as well. Hope to be speaking to you soon again. So with that, we'll do one thing, slip into a short break. When we come back, we'll get you more on the markets and stock-specific action. Stay tuned for that.